Hey guys, Steven here, Fanatic Perspective. Lots of draft talk still to go over and discuss. I know I covered my Cowboys heavily over the last few days. Gave my final grades. Very excited for our draft. But I also want to go big picture, just covering the rest of the NFL. Kind of break this into different parts. Today I want to talk about Baker Mayfield going first overall. Definitely the most controversial, basically really what Cleveland did with their first two picks, the first and fourth pick. In the draft this year. Before we do that, just a couple housekeeping things. Guys, we're over 600 subs. Thank you so much, each and every one of you who continue to grow with me, continue to, watch this channel. I'm excited about growing this platform and doing some more cool things, learning and growing, each and every one of you. So I really appreciate it. Secondly, we will be doing a series reviewing the All or Nothing Amazon documentary of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm almost done watching it. It's been fascinating to go through, especially when it's your team, and to see how things unfolded in the very controversial 2017 season. So a lot of cool things coming up, and the UT spring game review. Hopefully get that out this weekend as well. So want to make sure we get all that stuff out of the way. Baker Mayfield, first overall, Cleveland Browns. Super controversial. I see a lot of people out here really bashing Cleveland, not really understanding how they could take Baker Mayfield number one, and really just trying to make sense of everything. There were 5 quarterbacks that went in the first round. They're very heavily regarded in some sense, but there wasn't any home runs like an Andrew Luck or surefire guys, but a lot of top tier prospects who if coached up, could be very productive starters in the league. So Cleveland decided to go Baker Mayfield, and I want to really go over why he went number one and the mindset behind it. And I've heard a lot of things on both sides because Baker's the most polarizing player, and every year there's one super polarizing guy. The people that are Team Baker say, hey, this is the quarterback of the future. This is where the NFL is going. You have to be this RPO quarterback, be able to be super accurate, quick, mobile, and be able to make plays with your feet. Like you can no longer be a statue or anything like that. And then the people that are anti-Baker may say he's a system quarterback, and obviously the character issues and Big 12, all these things come into play that are quote unquote negatives. So things to debunk on both sides. Number one, the air raid issue and all that. Look, we just had an air raid quarterback go first overall in 2016, guys, and Jared Goff. And what you saw was, with proper coaching and development via Sean McVay, he was able to turn into a Pro Bowl caliber quarterback, and a quarterback that led his team to a home playoff game. You see Patrick Mahomes unseated Alex Smith. They're choosing to roll with him. He came from an air raid program in Texas Tech because he had the physical tools to be successful with proper coaching via Andy Reid. He'll be able to adapt to the NFL level. Now, with Baker, we saw a very sharp discrepancy between what the media pundits and people that kind of analyze these things and what the actual NFL scouts have. Because the NFL people, look, guys, Cleveland was not the only team that was high on Baker, and I believe that they were not the only team that had Baker number one on their board. I've heard rumors that the Jets would have taken him at 3. A lot of these other teams, some of the rumors even about New York Giants, excuse me. So, both New York teams were picking at 2 and 3, could have snagged him up from what allegedly from here. I don't know if that's from Baker's agent or what, but the point is, with the RPO mentality coming into the league, spread concepts becoming a part of modern day NFL passing offenses, Baker Mayfield in college executed that better than anybody we've ever seen. That's my opinion. But from an accuracy standpoint, that by far was his best trait to me. Even better than some of the playmaking mobility stuff, because at the NFL level, he's not super fast, but he's very elusive and whatnot. But I've seen that before from guys. What stands out to me is when he pulls that ball out, especially in these RPO situations or very quick, his ball placement and accuracy is excellent. His touchdown to interception ratio is excellent. Decision making, excellent. Very rarely did he even put the football in an adverse situation. I actually thought he threw especially his last year, and I could see him progressing and getting better. His deep ball was phenomenal that last year. There was a ball he threw against Texas where it was, I think it was in the air for 60 yards, right over Chris Boyd's hand, and it was an amazing throw, and that was off, off platform throw. So. The skills, I can see why. It's not ridiculous. Cleveland's not, they're not idiots. If you only want to factor in the skill set and whatnot, and on the field production. But when you're picking number one, you're picking at the top of the draft, it's not just about that. It's about the whole scope, base of your franchise things. And that's where the people who are against Baker Mayfield and super critical of this pick do have a point. The character concerns being the focal point of this. And to be honest with you, I recognize all the skill set stuff that Baker has, but to me, my personal opinion, he does not deserve to be the number one pick. When you have a police video less than 10 months ago of you getting run down, intoxicated in public. It was disgusting behavior, and it's not like it happened his freshman year, and that video was from 3 years ago, or even the Josh Allen thing where we're getting stuff from your first couple years of high school and stuff like that. We're talking about less than a year ago, you were being tackled drunk in public, coming off of finishing in the Heisman race, I think second or third. Or maybe, I don't remember, maybe he wasn't second or third, but he was, an elite quarterback then. And on top of that, and for the Heisman thing, I know he won the Heisman his senior year. I'm talking about his junior year when all that stuff went down. But you're also looking at with Baker, it's like, dude, you're older than all these dudes that were in the draft. And we're talking about maturity issues with you. Like Sam Darnold, I think, is 2 or 3 years younger. Same thing with Lamar Jackson. They don't have any of those concerns that Baker does. And for a league that is so caught up in, conduct detrimental to the league and an image, for him to essentially be invited, or not invited, but him to essentially bypass all that, especially after we had all the Ezekiel Elliott stuff and all the things that have been going on. But Baker Mayfield just seems to bypass all that. It's very interesting to me. It's very interesting that he's going to Cleveland, where they were the ones that drafted Johnny Manziel. And I'm sorry, the Johnny Manziel comparisons, he deserves that as well. Johnny Manziel, coming out of college, was an outstanding football player, had a very similar movement skills to Baker Mayfield. Look, I understand Baker is much more accurate and a better thrower of the football than Johnny ever was. But these guys like a Joel Klatt, I look at him as a Baker stan. They get offended whenever you bring up Johnny Manziel's name. But Johnny Manziel shows a lot of the same off-field characteristics that Baker Mayfield did. I'm not saying Baker Mayfield is an alcoholic or anything like that. But going to Cleveland, where to whom much is given, much is expected, I don't know how that's going to turn out in that situation. What's their plan? Is Hugh Jackson going to be there for more than a year? He's 1-31. If they go 2-14 or 3-13, he gets fired. Is the next coach that they bring in going to have the same vision? They took a gamble with the fourth pick too. They didn't go safe at all. And look, I understand you guys are at the bottom. We feel like we're at rock bottom. We're going to get up to the plate and try to hit a home run. But just being completely tone deaf to everything else. They do deserve criticism there. I understand their futuristic mindset of where the league is shifting, even with the Denzel Ward pick at 4. How they want a corner who can be multiple and diverse in their defense and move around, when a lot of people are shifting towards big corners and they want somebody that can line up. I get that. I would have taken Bradley Chubb. I thought he was the best defensive player in the draft, and I think they're going to regret it if that kid ends up like similar to Khalil Mack. If he does that in Denver, Cleveland Brown fans are not going to be happy. But I don't even know how you can be a Browns fan at this point and continue to root for your team when it's been run the way it's been run. Now, if I was a Browns fan, would I be excited about Baker with that wide receiving corps, tight end, and some of the pieces they've added? I would be cautiously optimistic, but I would be very, very concerned about the locker room and just how he handles himself there. Now, I do think he has a big enough personality to take on that. I think that's a concern that they had with somebody like a Sam Darnold and even a Josh Rosen. How could they handle Cleveland and being in rebuilding culture? But somebody like Baker who has a chip on his shoulder 100% of the time, I think he's going to be able to take that on full tilt. And I think you guys are seeing with me, I'm playing mental ping pong with this because I see it on the field, but the off the field stuff is so alarming to me that eventually what we've seen in the past time and time again, it will eventually affect the on the field stuff. So we'll see, man. I mean, but this narrative that some of these people are trying to push that Baker's a blue collar guy and all that stuff, please stop. I mean, it's just keep it to the on the field stuff. We know this is the type of quarterback they're looking for with the way the NFL is headed. But don't sit up here and dismiss the Johnny Manziel comparisons. Don't dismiss, the off the field issues and how combative he can be with certain. There's things that piss him off that shouldn't. And again, that's something that I have a concern with, and that bothers me. But he's in Cleveland now. I think they should, ease into it. Let Tyrod. I mean, not wasted, but they utilized a third round pick to get Tyrod Taylor, and he's also a guy that can move quite well. Why not, let Baker kind of ease into it, let Tyrod start off, and eventually hand that over. But we'll see. Hopefully, John Dorsey has a plan for those of you in Cleveland. But like I said, I'll come back and do some more draft videos. Just want to get my thoughts out on this Baker situation, especially coming from a guy who saw him play quite a bit in the Big 12. He is better than the past. Get that air raid stuff out of your mind. My issue is just the off the field, the character stuff, and we'll see how it turns out. But as always, thank you guys. We'll be back. A lot of content coming this weekend. Love it. Thanks for the 600 subscribers. Growing the channel. As always, thank you.